What we do at the SBA is provide and facilitate access to, for specifically small businesses, to counseling, capital, and contracting. Okay, and we don't have one of these in my office, so I'm just going to use the up and down arrow. I don't even see one.
Right here.
Oh, it's missing buttons.
Yeah, but on this one you can just go here.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, as part of that, one of the things we do is work very closely with our resource partners, and we're hoping that you do the same. Some of our resource partners include SCORE, America's Small Business Counselors. They are a membership group, volunteers, about 12,000 entrepreneurs who you can look to for anything from mentoring to matchmaking, traveling to your place of business to assess it, audit it, providing you with access to potential networking so that you can team with another partner. We also work regularly with a resource partner, the Small Business Development Center. And forgive me, I should have said SCORE has about 7 offices in the state of Maryland, SBDC about 6 in the state of Maryland. You'll find their contact information on my slides, which will also be made available. SBDC, free one-on-one expert business counseling from people who really know what they're doing. In addition to their core services, they can provide expertise in certain areas that are new and upcoming, like green business technology, disaster recovery and preparedness, export assistance, international trade assistance, veteran assistance, technology transfer, and regulatory compliance. They can also provide you with assistance with regard to developing your marketing strategy, increasing sales, expanding products and services, and improving your cash flow. PTAP, Procurement Technical Assistance Program, 7 locations in Maryland, can provide you with some assistance with regard to all aspects of procurement, developing your package, interpreting bid solicitations, preparing your package, conducting market research. And in almost all cases, all of our resource partners can provide assistance with respect to how you get into some of the programs that the SBA has to offer, or they'll direct you to us accordingly. One of the big questions a lot of people have is how to finance their businesses, whether it be because you're looking for a line of credit or startup or acquisition of real property, what have you. What I can share with you is that the SBA doesn't do direct business loans. What we do is we provide a guarantee, so we can back up to 85% of the portion of a loan that you can get from either a conventional lender, CDC, or one of our intermediaries. To find SBA loan types, you can visit the address shown above or on our slide. And we also have a program called the LINK program, which is relatively new, where because not all conventional lenders do have an SBA-backed product available, what we can do is have you log on to our LINK site. It'll ask you for some information, ask you to register, and then it will actually direct you to the appropriate lender or listing of lenders. If that, for whatever reason, is not suitable for you, don't hesitate to reach out to us. In every district office, we have a lender relations specialist who has some inroads, knows what businesses are looking for certain kinds of industry, certain kinds of reputations, certain kinds of products or services. What we look for in terms of the SBA loans, well, what I should share with you is when you go to apply for a conventional loan, if for whatever reason as a small business that conventional loan cannot be approved immediately, or if the rate would be significantly out of your reach, the interest rate, what the bank can do is actually route that through for SBA approval. SBA looks to make sure that you can actually repay the loan, that the owners and operators are of good character, you've got a feasible business plan, you got to have the right expertise to manage and operate your business on a regular basis, and sufficient funds to run the business, adequate equity invested in your business, and sufficient collateral when needed. Some of the things that SBA guaranteed backed loans cannot be used for are listed here. No additional lending, speculative passive investment, pyramid sales. You go down and, well, you can read through this pretty much. The word that got me was prurient, because I'd never heard of prurient before reviewing this, and interpretation salacious or lascivious. Okay, I'm going to let you stay on that slide for a moment. The three most frequently used SBA-backed or guaranteed products that we see are our 7A loans, the 504 loans, and micro loans. This is a lot of information on this sheet. The most important thing you need to know is that 7A loans are for small businesses that are for-profit, and they are looking for reasonable interest rates that otherwise would not be fair or possible to obtain. You can look at what you can use the proceeds for in a number of things. We're looking at a maximum maturity of 10 years for working capital, 10 years for fixed, and 25 for real estate. The most, you can get these loans over and over and over again. So there's no maximum number of loans that you can actually apply or be approved for, but there is a $5 million SBA limit to any one business at any given time. And the terms, the one thing you want to know about these loans is that unlike conventional loans, they cannot revolve, there's no balloon, and there are no call provisions. In 2011, when we had the, the economic upheaval, a lot of the banks actually, on their conventional loans, they could call your loan. These loans can't be called. It winds up allowing you to establish and reaffirm relationships with your banker or other industry as well. The 504 loan, same parties can apply for it. You're looking at a little bit of a different utilization. In terms of this loan, you're probably not going to be using it for real property you're not going to be using it for real property acquisition. And you are 20 years is 20 years for real estate. So I take that back. Forgive me. It is the next loan that it cannot be used for real property acquisition. My apologies. And these loans are actually packaged by certified development companies. Certified development companies are community-based organizations. So these loans are three-party, if you will. It means that you, as the owner, would put up anywhere from 10 to 20% of the total value of the loan. The CDC would come in with about 40%, 50%, and the SBA would back accordingly. Fees are under 3%, and again, there are no call or balloon provisions in these loans either. Microloans, basically, microloans are money that we loan or grant to intermediaries. There are basically non-profit agencies who actually issue loans. These are small loans, generally under $50,000. And these are the only loans that can actually be granted to non-profit businesses, and those are startup childcare, which I guess nobody here is going to be doing anyway. Sorry. Okay, now we get to the part that I have interest in and primarily what I work with. I'm an 8A business opportunity specialist. We have 4 programs dedicated to targeting small business owners. They are our 8A program, which is the program for small disadvantaged business owners who are socially and economically disadvantaged. Women-owned small business program, service-disabled veteran-owned small business program, and the Hub Zone, or historically underutilized business program. The intent is to provide equal access to federal contracting opportunities, and it allows contractors to set aside specific federal contracts for those particular businesses. I went to a conference recently and took a look at, there is a marketing, or I guess a newsletter called Set Aside Alert. And what they were kind enough to do is compile, if you will, a scorecard or report card for the 2013 federal contracting year, divided by, identified by agency, the set aside, and what their targets were, and how they fared. And this is what you're looking at. As you can see, overall, the government has a 23% goal targeted for small business awards, prime and subcontractors, 5% for small disadvantaged businesses, or 8A, 5% for women-owned small businesses, 3% for service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses, and hub zones. All over, agencies fared relatively well. I mean, greater than 23% of all federal contracts for the 2013 federal contracting year went to small business. As you can see, some categories are doing phenomenally well. Some categories need a little bit of tinkering, but you can take a look and see what agencies are doing exceptionally well in your category, and maybe they're just really friendly toward businesses of your type, whether it be 8A, women-owned, service-disabled, or hub zone, or what agencies potentially you should target because they haven't made their grade. If you want to take a look at this, the ultimate goal scorecard is next to the agency itself. Okay, I'm just going to peruse slowly through this so that you can take this in. I will tell you that the Department of Energy is the only one who didn't actually fare as well as the others. Okay, and here's our pie chart. When we talk about federal contracting, this is basically where our targets reside. In the green, you'll find federal contracting dollars as a part of the whole. You already know that we target 23% of all business, prime, and subcontracting opportunities to small business, 77% to other than small. But then we break that out even further, and we're looking at the 23% that is the small business contracting. Of that 23%, you can see basically how it's applied. And you can tell immediately that if you happen to be an owner, operator, manager of a business that is a women-owned small business, that is a service-disabled veteran-owned small business, that is a hub zone, which also qualifies as small business, but potentially is not 8A or what have you, you can see what your piece of the pie is. and you can get an idea based upon your technical specifications as to how large a pool how large a pool you're competing against. The more certifications you have from SBA, the larger the slice of pie you have the ability to walk away with, providing you have the technical capability to execute the contract. And you're doing your marketing. It also gives you an idea in terms of giving consideration or contemplation to perhaps joint venturing or teaming. You probably want to start looking at some businesses that have another piece of this pie so that you can go after more lucrative contracts. What qualifies a small business owner to participate in one of these SBA certification programs? Well, the first thing is, if you are applying for the 8A program, know that generally speaking, under federal law, this program is applicable to individuals who have, subjected individuals who have historically been the victims, if you will, or subjected to racial or ethnic prejudice or cultural bias without regard to their individual qualities. Now, there is a presumption that these people from these particular groups are already in that category. It does not, however, preclude someone from another category from making application, generating a narrative, and filling out documentation to identify how you feel you have been subjected. Your narrative should show how a personal experience had a negative impact on your entry into the workplace and into the advancement in your industry. So theoretically, you know, you could be from just about any background. If you were potentially Greek or Italian and you lived in a community where there weren't people who looked, sounded like you, if your name was spelled a little differently, maybe you had more letters in your name, you know, and you had some experiences trying to break into, you know, with your education or trying to break into the business world, you could write a narrative and you can be given consideration as well. We have someone in the 8A program from just about every background. And even if you are a woman-owned small business under the WOSB program, you are not precluded from applying for the 8A program and identifying the fact that at some point, the fact that you are a woman has hindered your entry into the workforce, or your business has had to overcome some obstacles that other businesses have not. When we look at the category of economic disadvantage, and there are thresholds for the 8A program, which is also the Small Disadvantaged Business Program, and the additional certification, if you will, that a woman-owned small business is actually an economically disadvantaged women-owned small business. What we look to see is, at the time of initial application, if your net worth, which is, and you're being the owner who is, those parties who are 51% or more owners of the business. If they fit into the appropriate groups, if they're women, if it's women-owned, if they are 8A and can prove that they had a social disadvantage getting into the workforce or getting into that particular industry, then you also need to prove to us that you have an economic disadvantage, and that means that your net worth can't be greater than $250,000 when we look at your assets and liabilities at the beginning or at the application stage. Your assets can't exceed $4 million, and your income averaged over 3 years, over the 3 years prior to application, can't exceed $250,000. So if you were, let's hypothetically say you were $100,000 one year, $450,000 was your income the following year, and then you're back down to $250,000. Well, averaged over that 3-year period, you're still considered economically disadvantaged. In order to stay in the programs, you're looking at the thresholds for net worth assets and income increasing. And you can see what they are on the right. When we talk about ownership and control, and that's very important for any of our programs, we're looking at the long-term decision-making and day-to-day management and administration of the business operations being the responsibility of the owner, who is also managing the day-to-day operations of the business. And that's very important if you're a member of the 8A Hub Zone, Women-Owned Small Business, or Service-Disabled Veteran-Owned Small Business. There's an additional control element for 8As and women-owned small businesses, as well as service-disabled, and that's that you have to have the highest position as an officer in the company. If you don't have the highest position, you need to have the highest position. You don't necessarily always need to be the highest paid. You should be the highest paid, but if you're not the highest paid, be able to articulate in the form of a narrative why someone else in the company should receive more compensation than you. What is it that they bring to the table that you don't have the ability to provide at this present time? Is it that the market calls that they be paid accordingly? Is it difficult to recruit for that particular industry? There's an additional control element even more for 8As and women-owned small businesses, and that's that those parties who are 51% or more owners and managers of the day-to-day operations have to be full-time, have to devote full-time to the business. It doesn't mean that you can't necessarily work another job, but certainly if you're in an industry where you have a responsibility to be in the business from, I don't know, 8 to 4:30, but you have another job 8 to 4:30, then we're going to wonder how you're actually managing the day-to-day operations of the business. Okay, and this is just to let you know that there are other opportunities for ownership that include ANCs, NHOs, and CDCs. If you have questions as to the ownership of any of those, either an 8A entity or a Hub Zone entity, please see one of us, myself or my colleague, Christine Kingston, or you can come into the office. You can also visit the SBA website for more information. Our 8A program is probably looked upon as our baby. And the reason for that is, first of all, it is the oldest certification program that we have for small business that gives you, if you will, an even leg to stand on. But in addition to that, because it has such, because it has such broad and such a far reach, it can actually be applicable to a larger percentage of the population. So we want to make sure that we give it the time and attention it deserves. As a result, and because of that, there is a one-time certification. There's a 9-year commitment to be in the 8A program. In this 8A program, we have exclusive training opportunities called 7J opportunities, where we get real familiar, if you will, with your business. We work with you in terms of looking at your business plan to identify what your strengths and your weaknesses are. We try to develop training programs or curriculum. We'll even pay for some services. We'll pay for somebody in a professional, usually one of our contractors, will pay for someone, a professional in the industry, or a counselor in the industry to give you training, to come out to evaluate your program, your practices, and help make a determination as to how you need to address certain issues so that you're succeeding, because the whole point of being in the 8A program is we're looking to try to give you give you the advantage, if you will, that you didn't walk into the program and that's just to be on even playing field. You're eligible at that point for set-asides and sole source contracts. You're assigned a business opportunity specialist like myself. And there's a 5%, well, you're already familiar with the fact that there's a 5% government-wide contracting goal. And once the firm is in, it's automatically certified as a small disadvantaged business for federal contracting. And just FYI, for folks like myself, and I'm not going to say this happens a lot, but oftentimes, but sometimes, what will happen is as we draw near the end of a fiscal year, and there are reserves, if you will, in the agency's funds. Sometimes the contract officers or specialists will reach directly out to us with an urgent and/or compelling need and identify the need for services, ask us if we have any 8As or entities that can actually execute a given contract. Okay, and this is some of the eligibility criteria. The business has to be small by SBA standards at the time of application, so you have to be small by your NAICS. Has to be 51% or more unconditionally and directly owned and controlled by those individuals. Has to have the potential for success, and everyone has to have good character, the principals do.
Valerie, could I ask you to wrap it up? We're trying to stay on schedule.
Yes, I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry about that. Here's your information about the women-owned small business. Just so you know, there are only about 157 very underrepresented industries, NAICS codes. A lot of them are manufacturing, trucking, maybe accounting, and there is preference eligible, if you will, for women-owned small businesses in those categories. Same thing for EDW OSBs. Hub zones receive a 10% price evaluation preference under full and open competition. Okay. Let me see if I can go through this very quickly. I'm sorry. Just so you know, veteran-owned small business, service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses, hub zone businesses, and women-owned small businesses are self-certifying programs that we do follow up on. Please check the websites if you're not. I want you to definitely check these sites. If you're not ready to act as a prime, if you don't have a past performance established already, whether you be a or if you're a large business and you're looking for opportunities to go to a sub, please check out our website, Subnet. There are opportunities posted there. And there are large businesses that post there, but there are also small businesses that post there in the hopes of being potentially picked up. Municipalities post here also. You can also see the same thing on GSA. And we're located in Baltimore at the City Crescent Building, 8 to 4:30. Please don't hesitate to stop by, see me or my colleagues, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.